When you think of North Korea, it's all about these perfectly staged events, right? Well, in that world, one person has gone from being just part of the background to stealing the whole show. We're talking about a princess of the so-called Hermit Kingdom, a master of propaganda, and maybe, just maybe, the next person in line for a nuclear arsenal. Today, we're diving into the story of Kim Yo Jong.
For the longest time, that's all the world really saw her as. Just her brother's shadow. You'd see her in photos, always a few feet behind the supreme leader, Kim Jong Un, passing him papers, sometimes even holding his ashtray. She looked like an assistant, a helper, nothing more.
But if you were watching closely, you could tell she was so much more than just an aide. I mean, she was in every high-stakes meeting, at every missile launch, a silent partner in one of the most secretive governments on the planet. Really, she was the one person her brother could completely, 100% trust.
And yet, behind that quiet face and those subtle smiles, a totally different story was taking shape. Intelligence experts and people who'd escaped North Korea started painting this much, much darker picture. They gave her a title that sounds like something out of a movie. So how on earth did she go from being a silent shadow to, according to some, the world's most dangerous woman?
Yeah, who is Kim Yo Jong, really? To get a handle on the woman who might one day have her finger on the button, we've got to go way back. Back to a childhood that was hidden from the world, far away from the palaces of Pyongyang.
Okay, so here's the thing. Her story, and that incredibly tight bond she has with her brother, it wasn't really forged in North Korea at all. Nope. It was built in the quiet, neutral hills of Switzerland. This is where the whole foundation of their power dynamic really began.
Even the most basic facts about her are fuzzy, and that's on purpose. We're not even totally sure when she was born. South Korean intelligence says 87, the US Treasury says 89. This whole mystery is part of her brand. What we do know for sure is that she's the youngest daughter of the former leader, Kim Jong Il, and of course, the sister of the guy in charge now, Kim Jong Un.
So, get this. When she was just about 9 years old, she was basically whisked away to Europe for a secret education. And a little while later, her big brother, Kim Jong Un, joined her. They were essentially hidden in plain sight, pretending to be the kids of some ordinary Korean diplomats.
They lived under fake names in a pretty normal apartment, not some fancy estate. But make no mistake, it was like a gilded cage. They were being watched 24/7 by North Korean officials, with undercover bodyguards everywhere. That whole ordinary life thing, it was a total facade. And in that isolated little bubble, so far from home, they really only had each other. That's where they forged that bond that would one day define the entire country's leadership.
All right, so after they came back to North Korea around the year 2000, Kim Yo Jong started this quiet but super calculated climb up the ladder. And she wasn't just riding on her brother's success. She was actually helping to build the very stage he was standing on.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you just how deliberate her climb was. She starts as a junior official in 2007. We first see her publicly at her dad's funeral in 2011. By 2012, she's in charge of her brother's security detail. But here's the real game changer. 2014. She gets a top job in the propaganda department. And that's the moment she goes from just being family to being absolutely essential.
And that propaganda job, it was crucial. She knew that for her young brother to hold on to power, he needed to look legit. So she carefully crafted his entire public image, his haircut, his clothes, even the way he walked and talked to make him look just like their grandfather, the founder of North Korea, Kim Il-sung. She was literally the architect of her brother's cult of personality.
So for years, she was the mastermind behind the scenes. But then, things changed. The world got introduced to a whole new Kim Yo Jong, first as this charming diplomat, and then, almost overnight, as this totally ruthless authority figure.
Her big coming out party on the world stage was at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. Can you believe it? She was the very first member of the ruling Kim family to step foot in the South since the Korean War, and she played it perfectly, all warm smiles and soft diplomacy. The media loved her. She made the regime look, well, softer, more modern.
And then, the charm offensive was over. By 2020, this is the kind of stuff she was saying. The mask just dropped, and out came this voice of pure aggression. This was not the smiling diplomat from the Olympics. So, what the heck happened?
Okay, the big turning point was April 2020. Her brother, Kim Jong Un, just vanishes for weeks. The world is buzzing with rumors that he's dead. And who steps into that power vacuum? His sister. She issues her first ever direct statement, and it's a blistering attack on South Korea. The message was crystal clear. If the king is gone, the queen is ready to rule. And when her brother finally showed up again, was she in trouble? Nope, she got a promotion.
And with that new authority, sources started claiming she was showing a side of herself that was just brutal. A capacity for cruelty that rivaled and maybe even went beyond her brother's. The accusations coming from defectors and intelligence reports are frankly chilling. She's allegedly the one who masterminded the execution of her own uncle. For what? For not clapping hard enough? She's been linked to the assassination of her half-brother, and there are reports she's ordered officials killed for tiny signs of disrespect. But blowing up that Inter-Korean liaison office in 2020, that was a very public, very loud display of her power.
And her words are just as violent as her alleged actions. People who managed to escape North Korea, she calls them scum and filthy insects. The President of the United States? Just an old man with no future. A South Korean president? America's hungry dog. I mean, her language is often way more provocative and in your face than even her brother's.
So today, she's not just an advisor anymore, not by a long shot. She is widely seen as the de facto #2 leader in the entire country. And she's the designated successor if anything were to happen to her brother.
And if you want proof of her power, just look at the numbers. She has put out more than 40 official statements in her own name. That's a privilege that used to be only for the supreme leader himself. She's become the official voice of the regime. That's a huge sign that she speaks with the full authority of the state.
And this isn't just speculation. It's confirmed by people who know the system inside and out. Thae Young-ho, who was a high-ranking diplomat before he defected, puts it bluntly. Because Kim Jong Un's kids are way too young to rule, the line of succession goes straight to her. There's literally no one else.
Now look, history has had its share of ruthless female rulers. You've got Empress Wu Zetian in China, or England's Bloody Mary Tudor. But what makes Kim Yo Jong so uniquely dangerous, according to the experts, is the one thing they didn't have. If she takes over, she'd be the first woman in history to rule a nation with her own finger on the nuclear button.
And that brings us to the final, really unsettling question, doesn't it? The world used to write her off as just a quiet supporter in the background. Now she's seen as the potential leader whose temper could literally shake the entire globe. The real question is the world even remotely prepared for the reality of Kim Yo Jong?